fortune. So my fortune I must seek, as a knight, explorer, or a sailor would. But I am but a thief. I could not tell half of what my eyes have seen. It would not be believed. There must be a small beginning first, but persevering is what makes one great.
I see great things in our future, kid. Great things.
As I am made for adventure, so adventure I must seek. By a train or vessel or an airplane, I must chase my destiny. Cursed are those that dream by the day, for they may act on what they see. We don't get to choose our hand in life. We only choose the way our cards are played. There must be a small beginning first, but persevering is what makes one great. As I am an heir to greatness, so my greatness I must claim. Whether life or limb or love is lost, I must seek it in my name. Well, here we are, the very last episode of my show here on YouTube. And since it's the last chance I'll get for a while, there's a series of games I'd like to discuss that I've been holding back on since day one. Uncharted. And why didn't I bring it up yet? Well, it's because every time I start talking about Nathan Drake and his many expeditions for treasure, it's always a while until I stop. I'm more than a little obsessed with these games. They're my all-time favorites just behind Minecraft. And as much as I tried not to bring them up in every single episode, you can definitely spot some signs of Uncharted mania sprinkled throughout my videos. I've never directly acknowledged it in this series, other than at the end of my Horizon review and in my first ever song when I threatened to fight everyone's fathers for some reason. Uncharted is perfect, I have nothing more to add, and if you tell me otherwise, I'm gonna punch your dad. So naturally that leaves me with a ton of stuff to talk about. And since this episode is premiering on February 1st, I'm officially declaring this February to be a Funcharted February. Non-stop Uncharted for the whole episode. If you like Uncharted, you're gonna like this one. And if you're not really a fan of the series, too bad. The Uncharted train has left the station and is careening towards a cliff. Nothing you could do now but buckle up and enjoy the ride. Back in the year 2005, Naughty Dog released Uncharted 4: A Thief No More, an incredible gaming marvel which set the bar for graphics, storytelling, and platforming. until exactly 1 year later when it was completely eclipsed in every way by Just Dance 2017. Let's face it, while Uncharted had nuanced characters like camera operator Jeff and Olive Garden, they just couldn't keep up with Ubisoft classics like Justin Bieber and Hatsune Miku. Still, Uncharted 4 is so much more innovative than other games of its era, such as Super Mario Wonder, GTA 2, or The Legend of Zelda: The Adventure of Link, and I can say with tears in my eyes that it's the best game I have ever played. The only other game I've played so far is Harvest Moon Mad Dash, but Uncharted is still the better of the two. Our story begins with Nathan Drake living in Costco because his parents forgot him there by mistake, where he waits to be executed for knocking over a stack of beans. That very night, he spots Santa Claus on a nearby rooftop and makes a break for his gift bag, inspired by the movie Elf, but falls off the roof and dies, inspired by the movie The Santa Claus. And now that I think about it, I also played that game a time or two, and Uncharted is better than that one also. Turns out it's not Santa, but his old pal Chris Rock, who takes him back to the North Pole to read him a bedtime story, where to their dismay, a crazy witch is currently at their house mid-robbery snatching their loot. She tries to cast a spell, but doesn't have the required mana cost, and it backfires, leaving behind just enough XP for Chris to level up and her magic spell book, which Nathan takes to become a mage. Once he's discovered for being a wizard, the authorities lock him in Rapunzel's tower while they search for a dragon to feed him to, the local punishment for magicians here in town. Thankfully, the book has already taught him a basic teleportation spell, and after he says the magic word, onion, 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 river dance, he finds himself back home with his allies, Chris Rock and Rafiki. Uh-oh, Mayor Goodburger is here, talking mad smack about M&Ms. I'm not sure if he means the wrapper or the candy, but either way is a good reason to throw down. After a brief tickle fight, the gang gets sent to the principal's office where Nathan is given a triple detention and a lecture on integrity, and they serve the rest of their sentence with nothing bad happening, I swear for real. Once home on British soil, Nathan begins method acting for his role in the upcoming Aquaman musical when he spies a large Tetris block he can loot for coins, so he calls in a summons in the form of a giant crane to kidnap it. The FBI shows up and serves him a cold hard cease and desist, but he serves the agent a cold hard, why don't you cease to exist? And Officer Gilroy runs home weeping, case closed. Back at the lab, Nathan examines the loot from the raid, including the Beyblade of Destiny, the Pop Rocks of Mysticism, and a single chubby cheese token. But he goes wacky off those Pop Rocks and hallucinates goblins, shooting everything to pieces to protect his treasure. Don't do drugs, kids. The main protagonist, Elena, tries to tell him about this cool new recipe for paper mache she learned using human hair and coffee grounds, but he falls in love with a painting mid-convo, leading to this huge beef between the two of them that will likely lead to either a diss track or a divorce, or if it escalates, both. While Nate is in the booth cooking up some fire bars, Chris Rock shows up, back again and about time too, to warn Nathan that if he doesn't change his ways, Tiny Tim will die on Christmas morning. Nathan is indifferent. Through a series of unexplainable coincidences, the two run into each other again right beside Mickey's Magic Castle at Disneytown and make plans to swipe the frozen head of Walter Disney himself and get some of that cash. Their stealth mission kind of falls apart when Smokey, the old gremlin of riddles, stops them in their tracks with three intriguing questions. Who are you? Who am I? Who he be? Nathan doesn't know and invokes the fifth, so Smokey wanders the dance floor in search of answers. There he meets a clone who holds him at gunpoint for all he's worth, but he's rescued at just the last minute by, what's this? A surprise guest appearance of Rafiki from earlier, who then proceeds to trash talk Smokey so bad he starts to wish he'd just been robbed instead. Meanwhile, deep in the dungeon of Disney, Nate is Donkey Konging some barrels around because really, what can you do to stop him? This guy tried and he got clobbered for it. Nathan pulls the fire alarm as a practical joke and the guards chase him around for the crime of being too funny, so he throws him off a cliff and they die. Lego Avengers was also a pretty good one. Look out, Nathan. Karma strikes when you least expect it. Right now in the form of another clone of that one clone from earlier. Nathan believes in chivalry and can't hit a girl, but the clone believes in clone foo and roundhouse kicks him until he dies. Once he respawns in Scotland, Nate is so disgruntled he goes on a shooting spree and guns down like 400 people, and then out of guilt he goes to church to repent. Unfortunately, it's Evil Church by mistake, so a third clone shows up and steals the floor. Waka waka, this is Africa for Nathan Drake and the Treasure Buddies. Chris Rock takes him back to the set of the Madagascar movies where he played the hit character Zebra Cakes, and they swerve around in a Jeep for a while. They hand the wheel to the only guy without a license, and that pays off as well as anyone could have expected. Thankfully, it only takes a minute for the mighty Nathan Drake to pull them back up off the cliff to safety. Then he just drives off the cliff anyway. Nobody's gonna tell him how to live his life. Because of this, he is sentenced to judgment before the four lords of this realm: Orson, Balthazar, Anthem, and Dwight. They present him 3 riddles, which he must answer correctly to progress, but I already did that bit. So instead, he just sounds the bell of decay and rings in the destruction of the mortal realm, then peels out of there before anyone can point out he cheated. Breaking news in celebrity drama: Elena's husband's wife has found out about the treasure, and she's a hoppin' mad. Turns out she wanted to come along for the ride, but Nate served her the old "no girls allowed," so she came to drop off an unfair hiring practices lawsuit. He gives her the old "why don't you cease to exist," which doesn't make any sense in this context. But his hype men are pumping him up so much it doesn't really matter, and she goes home crying as he emotes on her. Because no one ever learns their lesson, they once again let the most inept driver in the world behind the wheel of a vehicle, only this time they took extra precautions by doing it during a hurricane, and wouldn't you know it, he crashes instantly. Chris Rock decides that now is the time to reveal his true intentions and murder Nathan for the gold, but he messes it up like a klutz, and Nate is onto him now. He'll have to try again in an hour or two when he least suspects it. While jumping around like a dunce for reasons I don't understand, Nathan runs into yet another clone of the same person. Not sure who's been cloning her, but the battle gets pretty heated until Nate has no option but to jump off the top rope like Hulk Hogan, which obviously doesn't work because pro wrestling is fake. Idiots. Chris Rock pulls out the Chris Glock, which would probably get him DQ'd and absolutely would have shot the clone point blank if not for Nate's quick reminder that that's not the Jedi way. It's at this point that Chris is forced to reveal his deepest, darkest secret that he's been keeping all this time. The real Chris Rock died in a blimp accident 7 years ago. This guy is Chuck Pebble. Nathan is indifferent, but when he mentions the words bald wife, he is instantly killed by Will Smith, who was standing just off screen. Speaking of wives, Nathan Drake finds his at the bottom of a cliff searching for salamanders. Turns out she found the spell book and is brewing a potion that will turn her into a dude so she can join the party. Once again, these imbeciles give Elena's husband control of a vehicle, and surprisingly, everything works out really well this time as he drives off a waterfall and dies. Just kidding, he ends up at the theater and begins his performance he's been training for. Aquaman, The Way of Walter, his one-act show about pollution where they actually drown the audience with real water. It scores an abysmal 3 out of 10 on IMDb, but his solo number of Water's Love goes platinum, and he is awarded with 4 $Sand, and he gets to keep his costume from the performance. As Elena and her husband tour the mansion they're considering for purchase, we slowly get more and more insight towards the story of the game. A true masterpiece that makes Ratatouille look like ratatouille and makes Lord of the Rings look like Lord of the Rings. A tale this thrilling is difficult to sum up so quickly, but here goes. Once upon a time, there was this pirate. Turns out the building has a termite infestation, so they bail on the real estate and go mining instead. The downside of this cave is that there's a lot of exploding mummies. The upside is that there's also no ore. Alert! Alert! This isn't just any cave, it's the Bat Cave from Arkham Origins. And all cards on the table, never finished that one, but it was like an 8 out of 10. Next thing you know, Elena and her unnamed husband end up hanging in the Dungeon of Doom as punishment for trying to escape the Dungeon of Doom. They escape that one as well, but the Fuzz are still holding a grudge over the wizard incident, and their only option is to stow away on a ship belonging to Rafiki and the clones. The incident with the Popo inadvertently reminds Elena's husband that he's a wizard, so he tries to cast an invisibility charm, but stutters on the incantation and launches a fireball spell instead, setting the ship ablaze like a total Hufflepuff. The clone takes off running as fire is her one weakness as Rafiki drops the biggest plot twizzler of them all. He's actually been the main antagonist this entire time, manipulating and killing everyone who opposes him, which confuses Nate because he already knew that. He uses the last of his magic to turn Rafiki into a pile of gold, but the side effect fuses Chuck Pebble to the ship, which presents a new challenge for our heroes to face. Thankfully, everything can be solved with enough violence, and Nate explodes him with the cannon so hard that everything just kind of fixes itself. Don't think about it. Back at the docks, when they finally return home, Chuck turns to Nate and finally admits his deepest, darkest secret that he's been keeping all this time. He was lying earlier. He truly is the real Chris Rock. Nathan is indifferent. The next morning, Nathan is putting the finishing touches on his Declaration of Independence to overthrow the local government and declare this territory Natetown, USA, when the FBI show up once again to announce that he's been declared mayor of the city after the last mayor got eaten by a dragon in prison. Elena shows up too with the contract for him to sign, granting her the job of a local witch and a bribe to make sure it goes through, which she is obligated to take by law of being mayor. Then, we pan out. As a one final trick, we find out that this whole experience was fake. It was nothing but a video game. And who was playing? The dog. Naughty Dog. Sonic Forces, actually. 3, 2, 1, go! I don't know why I just did that. Are you like me? Have you noticed that box art is kind of not that good sometimes? I posted recently on like YouTube posts that the Uncharted 4 box art is really upsetting to me. And to a degree, the Nathan Drake collection box art. Because look at this. What the heck is this? It looks cool, like graphically, it looks like centered and everything, but this tells you nothing about Uncharted. If you saw this, you wouldn't be like, oh, it's a story about a guy who goes on a treasure hunting adventure. You'd just be like, oh, this is an angry guy who shoots people. It is, but he does other things too, the arguably more important things. So I went ahead and redid a lot of the box art for Uncharted. All of the games, the mainline games, I redid the box art, and I want to show it to you guys. This is what I would have done if I was the head box art designer at Naughty Dog. Quick disclaimer, I also don't have access to the original models of like the characters like they probably did when they were like making the box art. So this is just me trying to do my best with a lot of photo mode. So just keep that in mind. I just want to show you what I would have done, like a proof of concept type situation. So here's the first box art for Uncharted Drake's Fortune. It's not too bad. Like I said, it looks good. Like, it looks cool. It just doesn't really look like Uncharted. You got like a skull here and an angry guy with a shotgun. If you didn't know what Uncharted was, you'd just think this is a game where a guy shoots a bunch of people in the woods with a shotgun. So I went ahead and I made my own. Okay, this is my own image of what I would do. Again, I'm working with photo mode, and photo mode, especially on the first 3 games, not very good. But this is what I would have done. You got Nathan and Elena. They're in like clearly a cave-like area with a torch and a laser pointer. And on the back, I have some screenshots of it and like a blurb explaining what the game is. I'm not gonna read it. You can pause and read it if you want. Basically, it just says that like Nathan Drake is a guy who goes into the woods and kills a bunch of people with a shotgun. And that's what I kind of would have done if I were designing the box art. Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, highly regarded as one of the best, Uncharted game. I prefer 3, but that's just me. Ooh, so we got Nathan Drake here. He's hanging from a train. You can't really see that it's a train in this image, but you can kind of tell. If you've already played the game, you know he's hanging from a train. And then on the back, it has like some stuff about Nathan Drake. He's swinging on a vine and shooting people, which he doesn't do at all in Uncharted 2, I don't think, but whatever. It's cool. I don't have an issue with that part. Here's my version. You ready? Take a look at this. Boom, look at this, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. You can tell just by looking at the box art exactly what this game is about. It's like a big angry gold man who's like holding the earth, and these 2 like highly saturated people are kind of like looking at him. And that's the whole story, really. But here you can actually see the train and kind of tell that it's a train a little bit. I don't know, that's just what I did, and I'm proud of it. So this is one of the box arts from Uncharted 3. I believe this is the European box art, I think. It doesn't look like the box art for Uncharted 3 that's on the back of the Nathan Drake collection. So I don't know what region this is. I think this is the European one. This one looks okay. You know, it's fine. I don't have an issue with this. A lot of Uncharted 3, what made it so interesting was like the spectacle of Nathan Drake just constantly getting into these insane situations. He's like fending off a bunch of like spiders. He's dangling from a plane. He's getting into a shipwreck. My only two complaints here is that 1, Nathan Drake's face in here is scary, and 2, he's got his gun kind of pointed off to the side, but in this scenario, he's hanging from a plane. So who the heck is he shooting at down there? This is fine. This, I don't even have an issue with this one. And this is another one that I found. This one I think is Chinese. And this one is fantastic. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. You got him standing in front of the plane. It doesn't really explain that much about what the game is, but I don't know. You know he's going to be a guy in the desert in a plane crash. It's okay. I don't have a problem with that. And then here's my version. Here's what I put up here. You can see he's looking at the map. He's a little bit cross-eyed. And also, don't notice that his right thumb is kind of just sticking right through the map. Don't pay attention to that, okay? Ignore that, please. And then just back to this one, Uncharted 4. Great game. Huge fan of it. What is this? Who put this out here? This game has a great story, and it has very good puzzles. The combat is pretty good, but that's not the only thing. But you didn't even put him in like a combat scenario. He just looks like sad. This whole thing is just so dark. Even this picture on the left looks cool. Like, that's a cool shot. That's very well done. But I don't know. There's like some happy, like uplifting parts of the game. It's very like comedic.
There's a handle in here or something.
Well, give it a pull.
What? Could be a trap.
You're already in there. What's the worst that could happen?
I lose my hand?
So we'll get you a nice hook.
It doesn't have to be this, like, miserable. And then we're gonna pull up the Yeshio edition, what Yeshio would do. This was my original concept. What I wanted to do was something like this, but I just couldn't get it to look good with photo mode. Photo mode is really finicky, even on the later games. It's a lot better, but it's still really finicky. So I just went with this. I think this kind of symbolizes the game. The whole game is the relationship between Nate and Sam. That's like the kind of driving force of the whole game. So I thought having Sam catch Nate would be like a cool shot to put on the cover. I tried so many different shots for this cover. Played through the game so many times, just trying to get the right shot, playing in slow-mo so I can pause it at the right time and get the perfect photo mode shot. And then at the back, you just got some blurb about Nathan Drake being a dork, and him and Sam are kicking it on a motorcycle. It doesn't look better, I'll admit that. The original obviously blows this out of the water. But this, I feel like, symbolizes the game a lot better than the actual box art. At least, this is what I'm just trying to show you what I'm going for. And then, of course, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. This does look cool. It looks like maybe secret agents are gonna go on like a Black Ops mission, which is not at all what happens in the game. Nadine never wears a bulletproof vest. I don't know where they got that from. I don't think either of their outfits are right. I think they just like, it's not this like dark. Why do you have this like shadow scene right over here? 70% of the game takes place under direct sunlight. I feel like a lot of box art just doesn't explain the game. I guess as time goes on, more people prefer to get games digitally, so they just don't try as hard on the box art. That's my theory. Because this is not even like, they don't explain what the game is, how you play it, what goes on in it, and then ready, this is what Yeshio did. Boom. Look at this. This looks so much better. You can't really see their faces that well, but you can clearly see they're in this vast area. She's got a map. She's taking some notes down on the map, writing down where the local Chili's is. And then you got them smiling in the back. They don't look miserable. They're actually having a good time, because most of the game, they're not, like, miserable. Like, they don't get along super well, but, like, that's kind of the plot of the game. Oh, one more thing I want to point out. I like it when I have my games on my shelf and I can actually see what game it is just by like the color. So I made sure every spine of every game corresponds to what Nathan Drake or Chloe wears. So obviously Uncharted: The Lost Legacy is red, and then we got A Thief's End, which is a little more blue, and then the other colors, you know, kind of represent what Nathan Drake wears in that game. And finally, we got one more. This one turned out my favorite. This is the Nathan Drake collection. Why is Nathan Drake just standing in, like, the void and he's made out of a map? The fact that he's got, like, the map texture, that's cool. That is cool. I will admit that's a really cool idea, but, like, it's just blank in the background, man. Like, this could be people's first introduction to Uncharted, and you've told them nothing about why the game is good. And then on the back, this back cover is totally fine. Like, I've got nothing against this, because it shows the 3 box arts, which, yeah, I don't like the original box art that much, but, you know, if that's the box art, that's the box art. So showing the 3 box arts for the first 3 games in the collection is perfectly fine. That's great. The caption, again, tells us nothing. So I would not have that there. And then you ready for this? Boom! Look at this. You're gonna tell me this isn't good? You're gonna tell me the like 10 hours I spent on that stupid tutorial to figure out how to make these drawings here? You're gonna tell me it wasn't worth it? Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, you got the ring, you got the descriptions of the 3 games, and then you've got this shot in the background that shows the 3 games and a shot of Nathan from each of the games, and I just think it's cool. I think that it's a much better concept to do it this way than just have Nate kind of standing in a blank, like, space. But I'm really proud of the way these came out. I think they look pretty good. Obviously, they're not professional because I'm just trying my best here with what I have. I have played so much Uncharted in the past month. It is insane. I'm gonna go play through it one more time. Bye.